Wagwan, multifamily enthusiasts, to another episode of the Multifamily Real Estate Experiment podcast. I'm your host, Shalon Hutchinson, and if you have been connected with me for a while in real estate, you know me as Hutch, the marine investor. And today we have a repeat guest. And the reason why this guest is so important, he has been a catalyst in my personal and professional journey. Imagine, last night I got about a little bit over 4 hours of sleep. And in some cases, you want to say, I want to get some more rest. I could push this appointment. I could reschedule it. I learned something recently. So you want to know people that will know you. Those people that know you, that's going to let you know that you are not being the best version of yourself or the best representation of yourself. Today, we have an extraordinary guest for you today. And it's a good friend, none other than Tim Kelly. So Tim Kelly is a renowned real estate investor, a leader in the active duty passive income community. He is a certified life and high performance coach. And in a time where a lot of people is talking about goal setting and all the good stuff, a lot of us, we are limiting ourselves even by the goals we set. They're not big, they're not audacious. They don't wake us up out of bed early in the morning, and they're not fuel to the things that we do on a daily basis. So we're hoping that Tim can help us to get what we call clarity in setting those goals or improving ourselves or improving our life. So he's a life and high performance coach with a passion for helping military members and veterans achieve financial freedom. Tim is dedicated to empowering people to live with purpose, passion, and balance. Tim, I want to welcome you to the show today, brother.
Hutch, my man, thanks again for having me back. Love what you're doing. Always been supporting you, man, and cheering you on, dude. You just have blown my mind with what you have been able to accomplish as an active duty Marine, and you're just crushing it in so many ways, man. I just honor your struggle and I honor your resilience. I want to get into this, man. Whoever is deciding to follow you and listen to you, man, obviously they're serious about what they're doing. Let's deliver some value today.
Tight, tight. Let's do that. Now, Tim, you know what? A lot of things might have changed since the last time we talked, man. Do you have or have created a real estate quote or mantra that drives you?
Man, there's just so many quotes. I'm a huge fan of quotes. I
Mm-hmm.
have so many quotes written down, like over time, especially those quick one-liners. But something that, I read the questions and I wanted to put a little bit of brain butts into this. And one that jumped out to me is only dead fish go with the flow. Okay. Dude, we're here because we're the black sheep. We're here because we're different. The people
Mm-hmm.
who are listening to this are here because they are different. And we have to be content with that. Those who want to achieve greatness are separating themselves more and more and more from the pack, right? From mediocrity. Only dead fish are just going to go with the flow of the river. And it's okay to go against the tide and go against the grain because that's where greatness is. Stepping outside of that zone of going with the flow is really where you are going to see passion and fulfillment and greatness, as well as those who decided to not go with the flow. For those of you who feel like you're going against the grain, good. Continue going. Enjoy that struggle, and we're here to support you.
Man, that is impressive, man, because there's so much in society that want to make us believe that is a pathway towards living this fulfillment of life, right? I think a lot of us, we grew up with a tribal knowledge and that become a part of our paradigm and we roll with the punches, we go with the flow, you know what I mean? However, that is not the path, it's typically not the pathway to greatness. So I appreciate you sharing that with us, brother.
Yeah, man.
Look, Tim, now you built your career that combined financial independence through real estate, coupled with a high performance. Can you share a little bit about your journey, about that intersection with real estate and high performance, and what inspired you to pursue that path?
Yeah, man. So active duty Navy, I was on a long deployment in 2014 aboard the USS Baton, deployed with a bunch of Marines, the Marine Expeditionary Unit. That's right, man. Out of Norfolk, Virginia, we floated on that deployment in 2014. I just brought a bunch of books with me. Always interested to learn and develop more. And I was really interested. And that's when I was very curious about how people build wealth, how people become financially free. and how they create passive income and stuff like that. And that's where I got the real estate bug. I saw this pattern of those who are able to achieve wealth and financial freedom. And I
Right.
saw that real estate was that commonality amongst those two. So I got off that deployment in 2014 and really immersed myself in all things real estate investing throughout 2015. That's where I explored the podcast. I invested in myself, went through some courses, joined some masterminds, hired some coaches, and I really just dialed in and realized commercial and multifamily real estate was for me. I was still active duty. I didn't want to just go buy one house at a time. I didn't want to manage tenants. I didn't want to deal with that while I was still in a deployable status. Figured it would be much better if I just integrate myself into a team, go for larger assets. It's more passive. And it just made more sense at the time for me to go straight into the commercial multifamily. And that's what I did. I decided to focus on commercial multifamily, scooped up a couple residential properties and small multifamily properties, like using the house hacking technique. Loved that whole technique where you can get as many doors under one roof as possible that you could live in and rent out the other sections or other units. And so I did that, but I was really focused on the commercial multifamily. Ended up closing on a handful of apartment complexes, mobile home parks, while I was stationed in Pensacola, Florida. I had PCS there in 2017. And then I decided to get out in November of 2020 because of what real estate provided to me. I was a lot more passionate about that, as well as creating the active duty passive income community, the military real estate investing community, like you said, where we're helping other past and present military members create financial freedom through owning more of America. And I love that. Through that journey, found myself learning about the mechanics and the how-tos of real estate. I was also just as hungry to learn about how successful and extraordinary people become that way. I get in the mindset of the most successful people. And I
Right.
stumbled upon this book called High Performance Habits by Brennan Burchard.
Yes.
And it was literally just science-backed research and how extraordinary people become that way, how high performers act, how they behave, and what habits do they have that separate themselves from everybody else. So I studied that, immersed myself in that book, and that's what led me down the path of becoming a certified high performance coach where I get to work one-on-one with people. I also work in small groups and large groups, but I really love being able to get one-on-one with people to help them unlock all new levels of high performance. So because of, I realized I kept hearing on podcasts and going through education about how successful real estate investors become that way is
Yeah.
no different in their mindset from how people in all across all different industries become that way. Success, like it leaves clues. It's not a secret. People write books and share, like we are doing right now, tips on podcasts and in different sorts, other types of media of how they got to where they're getting. So it's no secret. You could just, if you have that desire, it's out there. The content is out there. The information is out there. It's all about implementing and shutting up. Stop talking about it and just go do it and just emulate. Stop making excuses and just go implement. So I was just really hungry to learn about real estate, but then I was really hungry to continue my own personal and professional development journey, was consuming all and immersing myself in all the books and podcasts that helped me personally grow. And then I stumbled upon the high performance habit, which led me down the path of becoming a certified high performance coach. And I've helped transform a lot of people's lives in that way. And it's been amazing.
That is awesome, man. I also appreciate the plug for the Own More for America brand. A
Man,
lot to come with that one. So appreciate that.
yeah.
Look, man, you probably get this question a lot about how your military training and resilience prepped you for the journey that you've been on with real estate and helping others becoming high performance. So look, you've helped countless individual men and small groups to build their own future or a future that their future self can thank them for and also their grandkids can thank them for as well too. How do you define high performance and what are the fundamental pillars that people need to focus on to achieve that level that you described as high performance?
Yeah, no, that's great, man. I'll never forget one of my master chiefs as I was going through the process of becoming a chief in the Navy. He told me something, and like the one thing when the senior leadership is evaluating junior sailors and junior service members, when they go through their eval, there's different framework on their fit reps, right? On their fitness evaluations and fitness reports that are periodic. But the one thing that really matters more than anything else is sustained superior performance. And I that just always stuck with me. And that like highly relates to high performers in the real world outside of the military and in the civilian sector. I learned a lot of different things in the Navy as a senior leader that have helped me get to where I am today, because that absolutely shaped me into the leader with the resilience and all the work ethic and teamwork and all those different things. But that one planet and sustained superior performance is the one thing that matters. That really has helped me, and I think truly helped me get to where I'm at today. And so like I see ultimately like coaching is an influence process, and it's supposed to lead to discovery, decision making, performance improvement, and just overall better living, bro. So my style of coaching is called high performance coaching. It's about how you can reach long-term success while maintaining your well-being and relationships along the way. Way too many people think success is all about having more dollars in your bank account and being able to talk about your possessions. Far too many people sacrifice what's really important, the relationships and the health. They sacrifice the relationships and their health to get those things. That's unfulfilling, unsustainable. So my goal is to help people feel fully engaged and joyous and confident in all areas of their life, so like they can enjoy the journey. And there's a lot of different pillars of high performance, but the five key pillars of high performance that, backed by research, what high performers focus on and develop are five. Their level of clarity, their level of energy, their level of courage, their level of productivity, and their level of influence. Those are the five key high performance pillars. And that's really where I start when I have new clients that I work with. We get really deep in their level of clarity so they can unlock more clarity, their level of energy, their mental energy and physical energy so they can deliver more value in all areas of life, their courage, productivity, and influence.
Man, that is awesome. Hey, if you listen to that, you might want to take some note down because look, a lot of times we think we know what we want. However, we might not be doing everything that we need to do to get to the place, or we might be making those unnecessary sacrifices. If you listen to this and you've been in the military, that is something that we do quite often, right? We take on some burden to get to the next level. We go to some duty station that we don't necessarily enjoy, and we know that our family's gonna freaking dread living in those locations because we think it's a part of the process, which sometimes it is, and actually somebody has to do it. However, sometimes we request that thing that really gives us some unnecessary burden. So it's important that whatever you're doing, you have the clarity that is going to get you to that place or that thing without making sacrifice to the things that are most important. Tim, when you're coaching, you emphasize life alignment, right? Can you break down what it means to align your goals with your values and why that is critical for long-term success?
Hey, going back to one of my favorite quotes that has resonated with me for a very long time that will help guide and answer this question. If your ladder is leaning against the wrong wall, you are just getting to the wrong place faster. So if you are going in a certain direction and you don't have absolute clarity, that's where you want to be. And that's in line with who you truly are and your mission and your purpose. You're just going to the wrong place faster, right? Same thing with, and you got to be very intentional about this, because like a ship, if you're sailing through the water and you're 1 degree off, 24 hours later, you're going to be a long way away from that target. If you're supposed to be going this way, you're 1 degree off, you are going to be miles and miles off track,
Right.
right? So you have to be intentional about figuring out what truly matters to you and how to make sure that your goals are aligned with that. It's radically important, okay? You are not going to be able to sustain success and have that level of fulfillment if what you are doing each day is not locked in and congruent with why you think you are on planet Earth, right? With your true mission and your purpose. And I love to give an activity, and this is something I do with all my high performance clients, in order to how to get more clarity and make sure like what you're doing each day is actually in line with what you truly want and your mission. Do you mind if we do an activity? It'll take like a couple
Yeah,
minutes.
let's do that.
Okay, so guys, this is it, right? If you're driving, that's cool. You can pause it. This won't take long. This is not going to be difficult for you to do. But I want you to just take a minute just to close your eyes and just take a few deep breaths, inhalation, exhalation. Just
If you're
yeah.
not driving.
If you're not driving, don't obviously don't close your eyes. You could pause this and resume this later when you're not driving if you have a chance to pull over, sure. But I want you to think of three words that might describe your ideal self. Okay. Three words that would describe the best of you, of who you are, or the best of who you could be. Now, these three words would be proud to have people describe you this way because they just reflect the truest and best version of yourself. Now, I want you to write those words down, okay? And I would love to hear what those words are. If you are listening to this, I'll provide my contact information. Send those into Hutch, send those to me, and let us know what those three words are. Whether you do that or not, that's okay. I'm going to have you do one more thing. I want you to grab your phone and set an alarm on your phone, a daily alarm starting tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. local time, wherever you're at. And take those three words, and those three words are going to pop up at 10 a.m. every single morning and remind you of exactly your best self, the best that you could be. Deep down, when you are performing at your highest level, that is your deepest and your truest you, those three words. Some people say committed. Some people say husband or father. Some people say provider. Some people say giver. Whatever three words come to mind, that is the best version of you. Take those three words, set an alarm, and it is a simple daily reminder that will go off every day at 10 a.m. and remind you and will snap you back into reality. Be like, this is who I am. And just got to ask and question yourself, am I delivering those three words to others in my life right now when that goes off? And it's just a daily reminder that will really help you act and demonstrate those habits that are
Yeah.
in line with the best version of yourself. That is a really good place to start. That's a really quick, simple little activity that I do at the beginning of the clarity sessions with my clients. And then obviously we get a lot deeper. There's questions that I would love to ask, but you got to think about what's making you happy, what's making you unhappy, and then that right there, those three words that go off on that alarm each day will help gain clarity. I'd love to hear some feedback about that.
Man, I appreciate that. There's so much distraction in this world, man. And when you have those little things that bring you back to your center and your focus, it's 100% important. I think you and I do practice the miracle morning or some version of the miracle morning where you actually creating time and space for you to do the things that you value. So I like that practical step. And I think if you listen to this and you don't do that, you're doing yourself a disservice. And whatever time you think is the most opportune time that you need to re-engage, right? It could be 10, it could be 12, it could be 0, 4 or 5 in the morning, right? That's going to get you. 10 o'clock is usually when you start to feel down. You had a breakfast or you didn't have breakfast yet, you waited towards lunch, right? 10 o'clock is a good point in the day where you probably getting towards busy work, right? And it's really important that you re-engage, make sure that what you're doing is leading to what you want, whether it's in your personal or professional life as well. So look, Tim, one of the biggest barrier that people face is self-doubt and the fear of failure, right? How do you assist your clients with overcoming these mental roadblocks? And what are some of those mindset shifts that are necessary to break through those roadblocks?
Yeah, that's great, man. So a lot comes up, and I could give some general, oh, just do this, do that. But what really helps is getting to the underlying root of where that is coming from and where that imposter syndrome comes from. And this is where sometimes, as a high performance coach, I have to be careful not to blur the lines of therapy and coaching
Hmm.
because therapy is helping you overcome trauma from the past. Whereas the type of coaching I do is helping you unlock your potential and move forward into the future, right? But sometimes there are burdens from the past and
Mhm.
trauma from the past that are leaving you in this place. I recently went through the darkest time in my life over the last couple of years. Went through a really ugly divorce. It was the darkest time of my life. Lost a lot of relationships, lost a lot financially, took a major hit. And I never thought life would be that difficult. I never thought that it would be that much of a challenge just to wake up, work out, do my job, go interact with people. But I realized during the darkest times, the brightest stars in your life will shine and will come out. And it's crazy when you go through those dark times. God puts you through those dark times. He'll never put you through a challenge in a circumstance that you can't work through, that won't allow you to grow through it. And it's insane to look back and think of the people who I thought were some of my best friends. They disappeared during that time. And the people who I didn't really know were as important, they were the ones that were shining during that time, checking in on me, showing up for me. And so I really was able to filter through who the most important people were in my life. Sometimes you have to understand a little bit of the background of the people if you're trying to provide guidance. But one thing that comes to mind, and this might be practical, if you've ever read the book, The Gap and the Gain, I
Yes.
absolutely love the premise behind that book. And if you haven't read that, highly recommend everybody read that book, The Gap and the Gain. And all that really discusses is the people who have been able to find levels of success where they are fulfilled, where it's sustainable. They measure themselves. They don't measure themselves in the gap, but they measure themselves in the gain. And the difference between the gap and the gain is if you are looking at the gap between where you think you should be or where you want to go or where other people maybe surrounding you are, where they are in their lives and how what they have accomplished. That is you're measuring yourself in the gap, right?
Yeah.
That's the gap. The only thing you should measure yourself against is looking back 6 months, 12 months in your own life. What have you gained since then? Measuring yourself against that arbitrary number, against those arbitrary people who don't matter. It's not fair to measure yourself against anybody else or measure yourself against who you think you should be. You should only be measuring yourself against where you were in the past. That is what separates the most successful people who are actually fulfilled with what they do. They find joy on a daily basis. They measure themselves in how much they have gained and all that they've overcome and all the lessons that they've learned through that process. So that's one big mindset piece that I think that people who are struggling, if you're listening to this and you're struggling, you're like, man, I can't see myself overcome this, or I don't know how to get through this. Think about, are you measuring yourself in how much you've accomplished over time, or are you measuring yourself against those arbitrary numbers and arbitrary people that don't truly matter? That's one thing. And the other thing I feel obligated to mention is during that time where you felt you were crushing it. Well, maybe that was last year, maybe that was 2 years ago, maybe that was last month, where you felt like you were in flow, while you felt like you were accomplishing what was going on in your life. You had agency, you felt like you were in control, right? What were you doing differently at that time? What puts you into that flow state? What brought you that level of excitement and confidence of fulfillment? And think about that. That was you. That's nobody else. Again, looking back on what you've accomplished, right? Look at and when you were accomplishing and in your level of greatness, we all have that time,
Right.
right? What were you doing differently? What were your habits? Think about how you can tap into that version of yourself.
Yeah, I like that you say that, man. Like that was you. And I think you bring up a real good point when you talk about the gap and the gain and measuring backwards, man. Because especially in this time of the year, as people are focused on building those goals, right? you could go into future mode and stay in future mode for a very long time, right? However, the catalyst is one, relying on your systems that have worked in your life because you was there, right? You should know what worked. You should know what did not work, and you should be making the necessary adjustment. But the greatness that you achieved in the past, that was you, and that still can continue. So these ebbs and flows that we have of life is going to happen. But I'm pretty sure, like yourself, the military enforces that discipline within us that get us to push through a lot of these ebbs and flow. Because look, motivation comes and goes, but a discipline committed to living a purposeful life is going to keep you going. So look, Tim, I want to talk about a few more questions before we get into the focus round. I think this one is really important because we can do so much and we can accomplish so many things. However, we don't always go about it the right way. So what I really want to ask you, man, is like this financial freedom is viewed as the ultimate goal. But many of us, I say many of us because I find myself doing this sometimes, we sacrifice health, relationship, personal growth to achieve this thing. How do you coach people to maintain synergy or harmony in their life towards that their ultimate goal? It could be financial independence, it could be time freedom, it could be location freedom, or all the above.
Man, that's a really great question. And I think it boils down to setting intentional time to answer really hard questions and evaluate yourself in a way, in a place from non-judgment and vulnerability and authenticity. And starting with these five high performance pillars is like the core of where I begin with my clients and the people that I help. And the first thing that I do is I have them fill out a questionnaire. It takes probably 30 to 45 minutes to go through. But one great thing that separates the highest performers from anybody else is that they ask themselves the quality questions. That's really what separates themselves is the quality of the questions that they ask themselves and are willing to answer and then act upon. Like, for instance, one of my favorite questions, like you could really unlock some crazy potential. And this is when I focus on courage with my clients, because who wouldn't want to take more bold action? Who wouldn't want to have more courage? Most people, if they think they're living life courageously, there's always somewhere that they can live more courageously, or there's always somebody in their life where they're not showing up or where they're avoiding some conversation. But one of the best questions that I like to ask myself and like to ask each of my clients whenever we walk through the courage session where we spend 60 minutes just how to unlock more courage in their life. It's if you were 10 times more courageous tomorrow when you woke up, what would you start doing and what would you stop doing? That's it. Like sitting back and thinking about if you could imagine yourself, you wake up tomorrow with 10 times more courage, what would you start doing and what would you stop doing? And it usually boils down to two things. What are the conversations that you're avoiding with important people in your life that matter? What would you say to them? And then you got to commit to saying that within the next 24 hours or shooting them a text and be like, hey, I'd love to pick your brain for 10, 15 minutes. I have something really important to share with you and just lock in a time to talk with them. Usually if you imagine yourself to having 10 times more courage, what would you start doing? You would have more conversations, right? You would send out that those you hop on social media and actually share what's on your mind. You would share what you're passionate about. Or it's like the things that you know you've been procrastinating on, or the conversations with important people in your life that you've been putting off and that you have been avoiding. And that's one conversation or one post or getting out of your comfort zone and doing that one thing and envisioning yourself having 10 times more courage to be able to do that could be absolutely life changing. And I've seen it in my own life, and I've seen it in many of my coaching students. But to answer your question is how to have more of a holistic view and stop just like going after the success and the possessions to maintain your relationships and your health. Just You have to be intentional about it. The level of accountability that is required for people who want to achieve greatness, rarely could they have self accountability. That is why coaches can help change your life. It's an outside perspective, someone actually in your corner, someone
Mhm.
cheering you on. And I am paid to push you to your potential. Like that's the whole reason why this is to pay to push you. And they hire and they work with and they invest in themselves to have accountability in their circle because what they're trying to achieve, and I know people who are listening to this, what you're trying to achieve is uncommon and it's not normal. And the most successful people who are happy enlist others around them for love, for accountability, and intentionally having more energy, having more courage, having higher productivity levels. So, yeah,
And I think the practical steps that you gave earlier with those three words of setting the alarm as a reminder, would you recommend those three words could be a version of yourself that you're aspiring to become?
absolutely. That also unlocks the power of visualization and affirmation. That's
Right.
real. Like affirming who you are, just act as if. And it's a reminder of who you think you want to be. You know what I mean? Putting yourself in that position and reminding yourself this is who you are or this is who you are becoming.
Hmm.
And the only thing that really matters is how you see yourself and that you have faith that this is how you're showing up.
Yeah.
So that's a great question. And that is what a lot of my coaching students end up doing is those three words that they choose are who they're trying to become or who
Okay.
they are seeking and desire to become. And that's a brilliant approach.
So, Tim, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, man. I trust that a lot of folks will find value in the things that we talk about today. And look, if you're listening to this, here's something that before we get into the focus round, I really want to share with you. Really think about this. Just think about this and listen to the wordplay in this one. They said that action speaks louder than words. And if that is factual, or if you believe in that saying, I think we use that to gauge the way others interact with us. But how often do we use that to gauge how we interact with ourselves? Now, really think about this. Being that actions speak louder than words, if you could not speak, what would your action say about how you feel about yourself or how much you care about yourself, how much you love yourself, how much you respect yourself? So if you couldn't speak, what would your actions say about those things or the things that are most important to you? So, Tim, with that, we're going to jump into the focus round. And I know you moved down to Orlando since the last time we spoke. Tampa. You moved to
Yeah.
so no, you moved down to Tampa since the last time we spoke. So what do you do for fun now?
Oh man, I'm really lucky. Right down the street is a pretty gnarly mountain bike trail. It's like a version of therapy for me, at least weekly. On my weekly habit checklist is
Okay.
to at least do one mountain bike ride a week. I also have awesome people in this area that sometimes join me on that. But if not, take a book or a podcast and go rip the trails up on the mountain bike. Luckily, there's a lot of water around here where I'm at. So I love being on the water, love being at the beach, love being on boats with friends and scuba diving. Staying active, being outside. That's one of the reasons why I'm here. I love being outside and enjoying the weather. Just you are in beautiful Hawaii, man. We're very blessed to have environments like we have where we could just enjoy God's creation.
So since the last time we talked, has there been an opportunity that's been a game changer for you?
An opportunity that has been a game changer, man. Every day is a new opportunity, man.
I
Like
like that.
it really is. And it's all about perspective and it's all about how you frame. And framing is how we see the world and how things that come into our lives, if we say that we have to do something or we get to do something, that's a difference of perspective. That's a different way to frame it. If someone says, oh, I have this huge challenge at one of my mobile home parks, and one of the tenants is creating all this chaos. That's an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to help somebody, an opportunity maybe to remove and evict a tenant that's toxic in your community. But it's all about how you frame it. I really believe happiness and success is, probably have heard this quote, but 10% of what happens to you, but 90% of how you respond and how you react and how you frame it will dictate that. And so there's an opportunity every day to just wake up and thank God that you're breathing, that you could move. Maybe not the answer you were looking for in terms of like
That is good.
this big opportunity. We have opportunities every single day of our lives to make an impact and to help other people and to serve.
Now, that is perfect because a lot of times we look at these external factors of gaining or of opportunities, but just this living in a place of gratitude every single day, you get another chance to make better choices that will lead you to closer towards the thing that you're trying to achieve. So that's dope. I want to be respectful of your time, so we're going to hit these other ones real short. What is your most important communication tip?
Man, most important communication tip. I would say the biggest problem with communication is the illusion that it has taken place. Far too many people assume that it's already been said or it's understood or
Hmm.
that the other person could read your mind. If you think you need to say something or share something, you could never over communicate anything. So you're likely under communicating it. If you think
Yeah.
something is important and you think you should be sharing it, share it anyway. That goes with your spouse, with your kids, with your business partners, with the important people in your life, especially. There's an illusion that this communication has taken place because it actually hasn't and it's not understood. And that's the biggest problem, I think, with communication. And if you could overcome that, I think you'll see a lot of changes.
Yeah, 100% send a receiver. And also, I think you was an instructor as well. Now, what is one thing you wish you understood earlier?
Man, that's a great question. Man, knowing what I know now, I would say that I think I learned this when I was really immersing myself in learning about real estate and learning about how successful people separate themselves and how they think and how they act. I learned that success is not a straight line from wherever you are to wherever you want to be. If you're looking to achieve greatness, it is not a straight path. It is part of the process to have those valleys, peaks, valleys. Maybe go backwards, maybe go really down and deep. Those peaks and valleys are just part of the process.
Hmm.
They are necessary to achieve high levels of fulfillment, of success, and of greatness. And so I almost wish that I would have struggled more like early on to understand that and to be able to overcome those things to make me even stronger today.
Right?
Those peaks and those valleys are just part of the process, and you have to almost be thankful and again, how you frame it, how you perspective,
Hmm.
and thank God for those struggles because you grow through them. Every time there's a
Ah,
valley, you're growing, you're gaining, you're improving, you're gaining new skills, you're adding resilience. That's pretty much the one thing that is coming up for me is that I really wish that I had not just the knowledge of, okay, it's not a straight line, there's going to be ups and downs, and these challenges and struggles are part of the process, but I wish I actually had experience and testimony in it. For those of you who are listening, be thankful if you're struggling right now. That means you are ready for growth and it's time to get uncomfortable and get to the next level. And that's what it takes.
that is awesome, man. I've grown through some struggles, and I tell you, with the concept of measuring backwards, it has been so important for when you go back to those times that you struggled through. You don't go back there to feel bad about yourself or create an excuse. You go there to find value in how that have helped you to grow to the version of self. Or you might be able to find those tools that you utilized back then, reincorporate them in you and grow to the next level. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
super important, man. Appreciate that. So last question, man. To what do you attribute your success, Tim?
Oh, man. I would say God and the people that I have been blessed to be surrounded by. This includes my family and the level of support that I've always had with my family and those who I've encountered throughout my military service, the leaders who demonstrated how not to lead and how to lead, and those who've taken me under their wing. And of course, all my mentors, coaches, business partners, just all the people, man. Like, you can't get to where you're at. You like success doesn't happen in isolation. Okay. It only happens in community, engaging with other people and connecting with other people. That's where opportunities are. People will get you to the next level. Other people, like one conversation could completely take you to the next level. So all the people that I've been blessed to be surrounded by, and it's like my brothers in Christ, people who I study the word with, people who have encouraged me to prove my relationship with God. There's so many great people that are in my life, and so many different people have different reasons of existing in your life and have
Mhm.
different levels of impact. But I'm not going to say that it was because of me. It was because God putting me in certain circles and allowing me to take advantage of those opportunities to harness the expertise and the gratitude around me to get me to where I am today.
To Tim, thank you so much for joining us today for this podcast. And if our listeners want to get in touch with you, what is the best way for them to do that?
A lot. Definitely connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram. And I'm also on X. I don't really do a whole lot of TikTok at this point, but either way, on all the socials, the handle is at the Timothy Kelly. You could find me, connect with me. My website, thetimothykelly.com. If this resonates with you and your military, definitely go check out active duty passive income, especially if you're looking to level up in real estate, learn anything from how to utilize your VA loan smartly
Yep.
to how to take down hundreds of multifamily or commercial real estate units and everything in between. We have tools, resources, community, education, masterminds, accountability, all for those who are trying to pursue greatness in real estate. But for anybody else, man, if you just want to the most direct way to connect with me, just shoot me a text and let me know you heard me on Hutch's podcast. And I'll throw you a link and I'll literally give you a high performance coaching strategy session for free. Normally I charge for it. If you are hearing this, I'm offering you a free strategy session. It will be a 60-minute Zoom call. We will go deep into your clarity, your energy, your courage, your productivity, your influence, and you'll get so many takeaways. You'll walk away transformed. And I want to give that to you for free. Just shoot me a text. You could do that at area code 847-9161. That is my direct cell phone number. Shoot me a text. Let me know you heard me. And if you're open to that free strategy session, I'll give it to you. If not, we can just chat on the phone and I'll help you and support you any way I can.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And listeners, there's so many ninja tips that were shared, that Tim Keller shared with us today, that could transform the version of yourself that you're aspiring to become, right? So we should always be working towards that. So, Tim, thank you so much again. And listeners, thank you for spending time with us, listening to another episode of the Multifamily Real Estate Experiment podcast. I'm Hutch, the Marine Investor, out.